Oh, I have pencils for you.
And Jackie had a question.
Yes.
Yeah, so I just wanted to know what the protocol was, because I heard it in the precinct, and then I heard it at not Rocky Hill, Little Bennett, about the
Stylist.
stylist.
Style eye.
Yeah,
That we're providing them.
that we were providing them, but then I heard it has to be requested by the chief judge. So I just wanted to know which
That-
one is.
First of all, we do not have a lot of stylists, and we steal them out of the EPDs.
That's what I figured.
So, no, when we were giving the briefings on Friday and Saturday, we told the chiefs that they could utilize a stylist, or they could utilize pencils with erasers. All right? And that was all we told them to do, if they had any issues whatsoever. So I will be, and, you know, quite honestly, we had a request from one of the precincts asking for a half a dozen styluses. And we just sent them pencils. So if the chief judge feels that he has a population, or she has a population that are not capable of touching the screen, then we have more pencils for them. Okay,
I'll
so.
take them.
I don't need a whole box of them.
I will give you a box, but this is the ones that are open. All they have to do is just use the eraser,
Right.
or if they have a stylus from their iPad, and I'll give you a box if you want a box.
Chevy Chase Methodist
Take
Church
picture.
asked about that too.
Polling places, give it to them. If they want them, some of them don't want them. And here's more boxes,
Okay.
if you wanna take a lot.
But if the stylus were used correctly, that would alleviate the finger rollover, a lot of this concern about the flipping.
Correct. Now, some of the jurisdictions outside of Montgomery County left instructions that the voters were to use their first knuckle.
Use what?
First knuckle.
First
I was
knuckle.
gonna say, which one is the first one?
I think it's the second knuckle,
Well,
right?
that's what, I'm just.
My
telling-
first knuckle wouldn't quite get there.
Yes.
Okay.
The good news is this is the last election. These machines will see the light of day.
I would, may I get the second installment of David's story about,
Okay, I can just tell you what they said they were doing. I don't know what the instructions were for them to do. What they said they were doing is they wrote up an incident report that they were sending to us. They consulted with each of the judges that interacted with this voter. So apparently they consulted with, as I understood it, whoever checked her in, the whole thing, and then she was filling something out as well, and that they were going to submit that to us without, they were not concluding whether it happened or it didn't. They figure she said it happened, so they were reporting it to us.
thank you.
Hopefully that comes somewhere close to what they're supposed to do.
That's exactly, they're supposed to record a law,
Right.
and record it in their chief judge law.
Okay, great. So,
And there's plenty of note paper there for the voter.
Who made these? It's delicious.
If somebody wanted to vote provisionally here today, they could.
They would vote absentee.
I mean, absentee.
Yes, and they have been.
How many precincts only have one chief judge?
Well, Monday, we had, Monday morning, every precinct had two chief judges. I don't know how many precincts have one chief judge.
Well, apparently there's been drop off, I gather.
I had one that,
That's
Yeah.
just one.
It's checking voters.
Oh, this is the same document.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was thinking, wow, this is a lot. Guess you'll have to share. I'll share.
Make more copies too. I'll do that. I'll see when I make more copies.
You and I can share, right?
Yeah, we can share. We can share.
But you pass, yeah.
Okay, we can share and. What is it?
I think there are two there.
Well, oh,
Okay.
She's making one more copy.
okay.
Oh, 3, 6.
So I made a call in Spanish yesterday to ask about absentee voting here, and I was told that I couldn't, that I was not allowed to vote here, and that my vote would not count.
You called here and they told you that?
See,
Okay, that was, I can't tell you how wrong that was, but,
You, where did you call, Grace?
here?
To the board office. And you spoke in Spanish.
Spanish, when you could do the Spanish, actually, one of the options is 7, to ask which is your precinct and so on, and I tried that, and it says in English to leave a message when you go to the Spanish part. Okay, I'm just telling you. So then I called back, and then I tried some of the other ones, and then, so then I push, because I know we had issues with the training of people not knowing if we could do absentee voting here. So I just wanted to check. Because I had a lady who moved from Virginia, and she said she called. And I wasn't sure if she called here or she called, the state. But when I called yesterday, I was told, I said, no, the same scenario the lady gave me, and I said, can I come and vote at the office there? And they said, no, you would not come here. You would go to your polling place. I said, well, I just moved. And I gave him, the address where this lady had just moved from. It's in Gaithersburg. And I said, okay, well, we don't have any, any information that this person registered to vote yet. So, I said, well, can I still vote for governor and some of the other, races, and can I go to the office, to the central office, and vote there? No, you cannot. You cannot come here. This is only to register to vote, and your vote will not count anyway. I said, what do you mean by vote will not count anyway? No, your vote will not count anyway. I said, okay. So then they looked, the address, and said, you need to go to Gaithersburg High School. So then I said, well, can I? Since you don't have a record of it, I just, I want to vote for governor and county executive. Can I go to, Seneca Valley High School and vote? No, you will have to go to Gaithersburg High School. I said, in your office, I cannot come into your office. Nope, this is not for voting. This is not a voting site.
And did you ask for a supervisor?
No, I needed to start on my routes. I had other issues on my mind. I was just like, okay, I'll let them know.
What time did you call?
4:30.
Who was on the phone?
4:30.
Yesterday.
Yeah, this is yesterday.
Well, by 4:30, actually the calls will, at 3 o'clock, the calls transferred back up front. So we were just taking election judge calls at that point in the call center.
Well,
It was a nice guy to try.
Not that it's excusable, but do you think the confusion could have been in, did you use the term absentee ballot? Or, that they knew it was that type of voting? Because maybe they were just thinking this is not a voting precinct.
It could be, but here's the thing: his Spanish was not fluent, which is a problem. Because like Lisa's Spanish is fluent, his Spanish was not fluent because he kept putting words kind of in English and and I was like, okay, this is not going to work out very well. He tried, bendito sea, he tried, like he really tried. He tried his best, right? And I was like, but are you sure I cannot come in? And he was like, no, nope. And then he asked he goes, let me ask. And I was like, ¿qué? Déjame preguntar. Oh, okay.
What is that?
You know, he's in English. He said, let me ask. And I was like, ¿qué? And he goes, oh, no, déjame preguntar. So then he put me on hold and he came back and said, no, you can't come here. You have to go to your voting place.
So he asked somebody and
Apologize
still
for
gave
not
the
remembering this, but how late were we open last night? 5?
I think it's just a matter of training. So I don't want to get this person in trouble, as but they just need to be they need to be trained.
You just did.
But they
I
need
think they
trouble.
won't be here much longer.
No, I don't think that should be the case. I think it's it's a matter of training, and maybe we need a script in the front when people ask, or maybe because I asked him about provisional voting and stuff like that. Maybe I confused the poor guy, because maybe that's not what he does, and he spoke Spanish, and he was the one, hey, you're the Spanish-speaking guy right now, but maybe that's not part of his, you know what I mean? That. So, maybe we need a script to both in Spanish and English up front.
Well, we do have a script, and obviously he did not look at it.
And in
Otherwise,
Spanish too?
no, because you're required to speak English.
Oh, so. Yeah, but
Okay. But here's the thing.
But if his first language is not Spanish, I think it's really hard to translate. As someone who did translating for years for the courts, it's really hard if your first language is whatever. If it's English, right, and you're doing Spanish, it's really hard to do it at that moment and to go back. I don't know if that makes sense.
I'll tell you what doesn't make sense. There's absolutely no excuse for anyone in this office that's answering the phone to not know that we have absentee voting going on till 8 o'clock. You just did a big ad campaign the last couple days about coming here. The people that were upset with vote flipping, I've been begging them to come here to vote so that they don't. In fact, we let a lady in at 59.39 just because of this issue. So there's some,
Okay, well, I
this-
just wanted to let you know.
So, but the other thing is, I also got on the phones and was testing them. I did not ask that question. I did the simple, where's my polling place? And I called the state 800-222 number, and I called MC311 and gave them my address, and they sent me to the early voting center.
Wow,
So-
that's pretty bad, true.
So, I mean, I wrote
This
it.
was after early voting was over?
Yeah, it was
Yesterday.
Yesterday at 4:30. So I immediately
God.
called the MC311 supervisor and their boss saying, this is the correct link you need to use. We're not doing early voting. I don't even know how she got that early voting site. I think all she did was she heard me say the word Germantown, and she started rattling off the Kingsview address. So, but there is no excuse for it, and I apologize that you were given that bad information.
Maybe it's just, I think it's just training, quite honestly. Just, putting a big sign out there. And it's by your English. You can vote. I'll set it here and an arrow.
Well, I'll make sure that, I'll walk up front again and reinforce what I believe they're supposed to know.
Am I able to volunteer? Who was,
I don't have
We don't have any
volunteers.
volunteers answering our phones.
Okay.
Anyway, just wanted to.
Okay. Go. You, Margaret?
Anything else from staff before I go around here?
Is there anything else?
Oh, you wanna go over this report?
I had commented earlier that we had taken, when I looked, over 900 phone calls in the call center. Now, of course, that's, 500 of them are just the Monday night setup is complete and the Tuesday morning setup is complete calls. But I have not clearly, had time to do a full inventory of all the categories. We try to get the information in and then we do the analysis later. But, it's all over the map, other than the things that we've talked through. I haven't seen anything remarkable. I will comment that in the last election, we, as you all know, had a lot of calls about the cords for the poll books in particular, and I have seen 0 this time. So, I mean, I know we sent out a few extra, power bricks and things like that for poll books this time, but it was the controls that we introduced into that process, the checks, we had a problem, we fixed it, it worked.
We had issues a little Bennett with a couple of them.
Yeah.
And the roamer actually came and, because they were actually, cracked.
Okay,
It-
not functioning, but present. Present, and then we had a problem that we needed to fix.
Well,
And,
I had 2 precincts last night where they needed a power strip, including in my home precinct where someone was saying, "Oh, I'll just go home and get one," although they didn't. But I think that I think that the roamer brought them. So
We had roamers leaving here at 5:30.
It may be that it was addressed. I don't know if that's the way the system should work or.
That was the other thing we did this time, was to
Yeah.
give more supplies to the roamers.
yes. And you give them scissors too. The roamers they don't get scissors. And I had 2 precincts where they broke their scissors.
I had broken scissors as well.
We
Clarksburg.
need to find better
Really?
quality
And
scissors.
yeah, those, and I have to tell you, it was
That's
kind of
fine.
funny because I was helping the Clarksburg judge was by
Holding
himself,
things.
and I had my son with me, and he goes to Clarksburg High School because he was in a panic. He's like, "We don't have our machines," and Marco goes, "Oh, I'll go get so and so. It's probably in the closet." So yeah, they were there, but he was like having a heart attack, and so we Marco was like, I'd be happy to help you, unload them. And he was helping unload them, and we're getting the cords out, so we take out the scissors to cut into, to get the phone out to save the line. And with Marco, my son looks at those scissors and goes, "Wow, these are not gonna last long." And sure enough, like an hour later, we get a call, he's like, "We broke our scissors," and then little Ben is like, "We broke our scissors." And Antonio was like, "They don't give me scissors." So he gave me one of those cutters.
Freezer things?
No, it was like a cutter,
Oh, okay.
Box cutter.
bus cutter that he had.
Margaret, you
Most of the
mentioned
voting-
earlier that if all the polling places have 2 judges. I was in North Bethesda Middle School last night. They only had one chief judge. She said, "I'm the only one." She didn't have
North
a
Bethesda Middle School?
Mhm.
Okay, I'll check that out.
And I think
I saw
that
them 6:30 and so.
Somerset might have been, I think it was Somerset 7-Eleven, that there was just one last night. And she said they were gonna, somebody was coming by, one of the roamers was gonna come by and swear in one of the judges, she told me.
Oh, field appointment.
Yeah. Yeah.
I usually
Those happen.
And Parkside, 404.
I usually night them myself. Night.
Take a sword.
Yeah.
But I think Parkside was also going to do a field appointment. I think just about all the judges there, in addition to the one chief judge, but the others were basically new. So he said he was just going to find the best of the lot, make them a chief.
Yeah.
Last night in the call center, we had 30 open tickets. We know when it was too late to try to resolve some of these things. I want to say maybe between a third and a half of them were election judge no-shows or, something that was in process of supplementing a team from somebody who at the last minute.
Did we have an inordinate number of late cancellations or no-shows compared to?
No,
Compared to the
actually,
primary, it's way, way better.
yeah, we
Way,
think
way
it's
better.
great. I mean, did we have some? Yeah, but in comparison to the primary, when they were banning on us left and right, yeah, no, this is much better.
I had one precinct where 2 judges didn't show up. And
Were they chiefs?
the chiefs were there,
Okay.
but they didn't have, there were two others were not there. And the student greeters weren't there. So in fact, they were down like 4 people from what they were.
Did they call in and request
They
their?
said they did.
Okay.
But when I got there, they had not gotten a response, and they were still panicking about being
Every place I went,
understaffed.
the students were adorable. They were all over the place,
know
and they
which
were
precinct?
adorable,
Yeah.
opening doors and
5, 10.
helping. They were as cute as they could be.
If they had the student help.
I
Some
had
of them they
a
didn't.
student chief judge at Our Lady of Mercy. He's fantastic. I mean, it was unbelievable.
I had,
Quick study, obviously.
do you know of a telephone call that you got from a voter complaining that the chief judge, one of the chief judges was, don't write this down, one of the chief judges was too young and they shouldn't use students as chief judges, and she was objecting to it? And it turns out that the chief judge she was talking about was 29 years old and an Afghan veteran. And I said, just be happy. Just be happy. She said the woman had called.
Did anybody else have issues with handicap access?
Yes.
Yes,
I fixed
I have a
one.
big
I-
paragraph on
Yeah.
one's face.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
That's my pet peeve again, and and I feel bad because Chris probably sees my number and goes, "Oh, not again!" Like, where is there an issue with access?
What kind of problem was it?
Clarksville Elementary is terrible. Anyway, the way that the whole school is designed, but Chris said she was going to take care of it because they were doing painting where the handicap entrance.
General services went in this morning between 6 and 7.
And cleared
And
it.
didn't wait for a supervisor, they cleared the materials out.
Because I talked to the guy, the contractor last night, and he was playing the card, I don't speak English. I was like, I'll talk to you in Spanish. Look or stop. So anyway, so that was, I'm glad because there was really no other way with a wheelchair that you could access that because the parking lot. And then the other one was, who would have thought Gaithersburg Elementary was a mess
Really?
this morning. It was just, if we can, it was, I think for next time, we need to have somebody, I don't know who checked on them the night before. I didn't have it on my route. But the doors were supposed to be unlocked for the handicap entrance. They were not. When I went from Gaithersburg Elementary to Gaithersburg Middle School chief judge said to me, "What is going on in Gaithersburg Elementary? Because we're having their voters come here saying that it's closed." And I had people leaving without voting, like when I got there, because I thought it was also the same, because I saw the sign, I thought that was the entrance, and then here's the entrance, and then there's a sign, and there was no other voting signs telling people you have to go all the way to the back, around the building, and park all the way in the back, and then you're using the back entrance. So I made a lot of people, and I had a lady in a walker who made the walk all the way from the front to all the way in the back, and I was just
I had a
Not
similar
happy.
I had a similar issue at Oakland Terrace Elementary, where the map called for using the front door to the school.
so was this one
The
too.
front door to the school is at a driveway where there's no parking and no curb cut, and the parking is actually about 6 stairs higher than where that front door of the school was, and the all-purpose room where the voting was literally had doors that emptied right onto the parking lot, so that in the past they've just gone in and out of those doors, which of course is good because there's a curb cut there, it's right next to the parking lot, et cetera. Now, to be fair, the handicap parking is kind of a strange place anyway, but anyway, by the time I left, the chief judge agreed, and they moved the entrance from the front entrance to the school to one of the entrances to the all-purpose room, which is right next to the parking. And so we rearranged things a little bit, created a very small electioneering zone in between the entrance and the exit, but it was far enough away from the entrance. But literally, in order to get into the building where the handicap sign was, you had to walk down 6 stairs, which obviously wouldn't work. So change that one.
Lynn Brooke, if this is our subject now.
If you could, those are types of things that, while it's great for us to hear it verbally, if you could, you know what, Lisa, when you take your notes, what we need to do is send copies of the interiors to the board members so that they can make notations on it.
Okay.
For the future. Of course, the
Interiors.
configuration with the new system will be completely different, but ADA stuff is ADA stuff.
Right, I mean, this wasn't an issue with the interior, this was an issue with the entrance.
Well,
entrances to the building.
we'll send you the maps, and then you can just mark it up and say, okay, this is where the parking lot is, this is where the entrance should be.
Right.
Because quite
Right.
honestly,
Right.
a lot of times, one of the things that we discover when we send you out to different locations is we will say, all right, you're supposed to set up at the all-purpose room, and you're supposed to use the main entrance, and you're supposed to use the ADA door, and all of a sudden they decide, the chief judges decide that, well, we think it'd be more convenient to vote in this other room, and the building service manager says, oh yeah, sure,
No,
fine.
not in this instance, he showed me the map, and the map had alternative doors. But the map called for using the main door. So he was very cooperative once we
No, I'm
talked
just
about it.
using
but-
that as an
yeah.
example,
Yeah.
but that's the best way for us to be able to make.
I'm happy to look at maps. I'm gonna get, when it's my turn, to another map question that I have a question about that caused a big stir at Leisure World this morning. But, I mean, I think that, we've done a lot of looking at polling places and talking about entrances and talking about electioneering zones and all that, and I think that's among the best uses of our time. I mean, because I think we can avoid a lot of issues that way. I don't know if you want to talk about Leisure World now, but,
You've been holding off on something there.
Lynn, just the disabled thing.
Yeah.
Chevy Chase Library, the things you push on the doors didn't open, and I had to get them to, just as by way of report, they had to get a stick out and do things at the top of the door in order to get that working. And our lovely ladies both said they were brand new at the library. They'd never been chief judge before. When I went in, said they didn't know they knew it wasn't working and didn't have a clue what to do about it. And I said, well, what time do the librarians get here? Well, they're here. Well, let's go chat with them. And it got resolved. They didn't know they could just walk up the steps and chat with a librarian and get it solved. They were adorable women, and they were all voting, and everybody was doing it right.
One of the instructions we give to the chief judge is that they are to
Check.
contact the facility and talk to them in
Well,
advance of
these
the election.
ladies
And it's on their checklist,
needed another cup of
actually,
coffee.
to make sure that it's
Last
in
night,
compliance
too.
with ADA.
Yeah, you know, the Lynbrook Elementary was awful as far as ADA is concerned. That was mainly needed signage because you had to come in, there was one-way streets and stuff, you had to come in and drive all the way around the school and all the way around to the back. Then it was fine, you walked right in the door they had open. But a poor man on a walker, his wife and I had to help him up 2 flights of steps, and I need the walker. I wanted to take it away from him. But anyway, that Lynbrook was, the signage wasn't right, and when I asked them about the signs, they said they'd only gotten one and they had put it down at the corner. That wouldn't have helped. So Lynbrook just needs to have the signs, about 5 disabled this way signs to get people to go around, because they've got to go all the way around. Otherwise, they've got flights. The other place, the parking was awful at the Chevy Chase Village Hall. I parked underneath. They have parking underneath, but it's not much, maybe 15 or 20 slots. And it's very spooky. I parked there last night, and I was the only one there. It was very spooky. And you have to walk up 2 flights of steps. There's no elevator. And I almost grabbed somebody to walk me back to my car. It was kind of dark and spooky. And there was no parking outside. They were all taken by the people inside setting up. There's one pad with about 5 parking. We just need to look at that, how we can make that better. Because no disabled person could park underneath and get up. And we just need to kind of look and see how we can. Signs can go on that street. There is no question you can street park there. If we take down the signs or cover the signs that say no parking during the day. I don't know why we couldn't do that for voters only parking, something like that.
Or handicap accessible parking.
Or voters only, because it's just parking is difficult over there without walking for blocks and blocks. And I also want to reiterate what I've said here before, is the Bethesda Library being case in point, the Silver Spring voting places, is we need to do something so voters don't have to pay to vote, don't have to pay parking fees to vote. And people were, while I was standing there, because I think it was because I had this on, or maybe it's just because I look dumb, people were asking me, do I have to put money in here to go in and vote? Do I need to pay to vote today? I told them all no. But the fact is, they did.
Yeah.
And so I think I would like to look at that issue again.
But the same thing at the county executive's office building, if you want to, when we do our voting, so it's just.
I don't know if we've ever, that is an issue maybe we should take up with Mike Subin and see who in the county, we contact.
Did it at the Silver Spring
get
Center
these.
before, and they said it's the county contracts with a private vendor, I think is what the answer was there.
That's true.
That the county, and we would have to, somebody would have to deal with the private vendor.
Right.
And I'm not talking about taking the entire garage, I'm talking about 10 spots that's marked voter only parking.
Okay, good issue. Is there anything else on handicap before we move on?
No, the places I visited was okay. No problem.
I didn't have any issues. Let's move next to Leisure World, because I also received a call from an elected official as I was driving here to this meeting, saying that the lines in both Clubhouse 1 and 2 were, in their eyes, very, very long. And in Clubhouse 2, they felt the issue was not enough staff, that it was just creating a slowness in getting people from point A to point B type of thing.
Yeah, I visited Clubhouse 2. That was my last stop before coming here. And it did have a longer line than almost anywhere else I had been today. But
David, as in the 35 people, 112 or 4? What do you mean?
closer to 35.
Okay.
Somewhere between 35 and 112. But,
That long a line?
No, I would say it was more like 35. But, and the judge was doing all the things that you'd want him to do to work the line. He had 2 different staff who were helping manage the line, including one who was going down the line and asking people where they lived in Leisure World to make sure they were in the right line.
Yeah.
So that they, sending people to other precincts, if they were in the wrong one. I didn't notice any obvious inefficiencies, or they at least didn't feel like they were shorthanded. But I could go back and look again and see what I see. I was very familiar with the electioneering line at Clubhouse 1. Apparently, the chief judge. Well, first off, the map has a location for the electioneering line that is different than any election. I mean, I've been going to elections at Leisure World for probably 25 years, and I've never heard of the electioneering line being as cutting off as much of the walk on the way into Clubhouse 1 as it did. I would say it was almost half of the walk was cut off, and what happened was that the Democratic and Republican tables are usually set up kind of closest to where the entrance to the building is. And in part, that was because that's where the terrain is flat. So you can't put a table on an incline. And apparently this morning, the judge, who is his first time in this location, gets the map that says 75 feet in each direction, and he is trying to enforce the map. And so he basically tells them that they have to move. Apparently, the two women who were there for the Republican Party were old enough that they needed assistance in moving their table, and the Democratic nominee for Attorney General and the incumbent state's attorney of Montgomery County moved the table in order to move them, from a different to a different location. But there were, literally when I got out of my car, walking from my car to the building, I got stopped by probably 3 or 4 different elected officials saying, "What's the deal with the electioneering line?" So my question is, has 75 feet been the boundary before this year? Because it could be that there was a map that people were not enforcing. It's never actually been, like I said, I've been going there for 25 years. It's never actually been that far, as it was. And I don't remember our discussing at this table the electioneering boundary for this precinct, because every time we've discussed electioneering boundaries, if anything, we've been moving boundaries closer in, not further out. And so I don't know what caused this. After consulting with Kevin and understanding that we were following the longstanding practice in that location, and also knowing that I had both political parties who were wanting to make this change, I moved the boundary further in. Basically to its, I don't know if it's exactly its traditional location, but allowing them to put their tables back. As it turns out, the Democrats moved their table, and the Republicans decided that they liked their new spot. So they were offered multiple times to have someone help them move their table back. But anyway, it's probably the most popular thing I'm going to do in my 4 years on this board. Was to
Move the boundary?
was to move the boundary. But I am curious to know how the boundary ended up being where it was, given that that's not where the boundary has been ever.
But keep in mind, 4 years ago, it should have been 100 feet.
Yes, right.
So, but in some of these locations, like Asbury this morning when I was there, we actually moved it inside, which is not what we typically do for most of our polling places, but we have traditionally done there, primarily because the layout kind of lends itself to that too.
What is considered to be the entrance? Is it the entrance to
The front door to the building.
So it's not the front door to the ballroom?
No,
It's not,
It-
it's
okay.
the front door to the building.
right.
Okay.
Yeah, because you could have, I know what you mean.
Right.
You could go, some of these, you could go way down.
Right.
It's not 25 feet from the
No.
polling room.
Right, it's 25 feet from the front door.
Right,
I
right.
understood. And where I put it was beyond 25 feet from the
Yeah,
from
it's anywhere
from the front door.
Right.
But I probably cut it in half. Is approximately what I did. But you're saying that more than 4 years ago, the boundary should have been even further.
Yeah,
It was
because
100.
before 4 years
Yeah,
ago,
yeah.
It was Montgomery County's was 100.
Yeah,
feet for
that,
election
we
year.
made that change since we've been.
Oh no, I understand.
here.
I understand that the state law changed.
legislation.
What I'm saying is that I don't think the practice at that location has changed. Maybe in all of that time.
Well, it's been 100 feet for what would be a reasonably safe area.
Yes, it
And
was
I
all
think-
based around safety
Right.
issues
And I
if you
think-
went closer.
yeah, and I think that the point has always been that it's never been more than 100 feet. But if there was some place that was less than 100 feet, that was clearly a safer area to have people, and obviously, given the all the traffic that goes through Leisure World, both voters and candidates, I'm sure it got moved in to create some greater space so
Right,
people
right.
could actually
And,
get
and,
through.
and that was actually one of my thoughts, was that what we were doing was we were forcing the candidates and their representatives closer to each other. which was not necessarily going to be a good thing for
I'm
everybody.
curious, David. You were there for the primary.
No issue during the primary.
And we had a host of candidates at that point. You know, there were so many more candidates.
This boundary was not.
This was further back.
I don't know what was on the map. I can only tell you what was on the ground. Okay, on the ground, this boundary was in its traditional spot. It was not halfway up the path.
Yeah.
But keep in mind, and David will remember this, for the primary, didn't we had, or maybe it was for the last election, we had a judge, a chief judge there that had been there
Yes.
for a long, long time.
Exactly.
And who's no
Right.
longer.
Oh, I don't fault.
So
fault
we
the-
may have always set the boundary for.
He may have
Right.
been there.
Where-
and
Very
he just kind of
free-thinking
knew where it
gentleman.
originally was.
Right. I'm not
Very
faulting. I'm
Very
not faulting.
free-thinking gentleman.
Yeah, free
Yeah,
thinking.
Yeah. No, I understand. And I'm not faulting the judge who's there today. I think he was, as in his eyes, he was following what he was, what he was told, what he was told
he
to
saw.
do.
The only thing I can
Yeah.
say is, as you know, we looked, I think, at every precinct along the line when we were making that change, when the law changed. And we may have seen 75 feet, but knowing that it had always worked well and everybody knew that, like you're saying, David, where it was, we just left it. And this new judge is taking it literally at 75 feet, which in fact is up further back than what we were used to.
Did you talk to the judge about it when you did it?
Yes.
Okay, so it was all done.
No, he came out and looked at it with me. We agreed as to where it should,
Okay, then
as to
good.
where it should go. He said that as far as he was concerned, he was fine with it. He just didn't want to, he didn't want to not be following the instructions.
Get in trouble.
Right,
Yeah.
and that's the
Yeah.
same thing the guy had asked, but he said, I don't care where the line is.
Right.
I've got a
Right.
map here that tells me it's supposed to be right here, so that's what I'm
Right.
doing.
I mean,
Yeah.
most of the
That's
judges,
always-
want to do the right thing. I did have an electioneering issue at Garrett Park Elementary where one of the judges. Today.
I was there last night.
I think that the issue actually happened this morning. But one of the judges at Garrett Park moved the boundary out. He was not a judge who had worked at that location before. But he moved it out beyond what the map called for. And then I went in, showed him the map, and we moved it back to where the map said. But they're definitely, I guess we have some people who feel like they have the ability to act on their own, and other people who don't. And I'm not sure if we have to kind of clarify for people what the story is. But in that particular case, it was beyond where the map said, and was actually causing a problem, based on what it was doing.
I would like to make a suggestion about Asbury and Leisure World. When there's long lines, that we try to come up with a method of giving people numbers so they can go and sit down.
They do that at Riderwood.
Do they?
Yes.
Yeah.
They do what?
They give numbers at
It
Riderwood.
just, I don't know why we can't come up with some
Interesting.
system to do that.
They do that
So,
everywhere.
what?
If someone physically can't
Give
stand,
you a number.
But at a place like Leisure World, there's gonna be a lot of people who physically can stand, but not for long periods of
Yeah,
time.
Yeah, they actually
Everybody.
there were in Clubhouse 2, the one that I told you had the longest line that I saw today. They had chairs all along the
Oh,
hallway.
okay. If they do, and
Yes.
people can want to sit down, but then
Right.
play musical chairs, keep moving up.
Right.
I was just thinking, if you give people, if there was a method to give them a number as they come in, then they can just go and sit and not move and not feel as though they are in line.
Well, I know they're
they can call them.
placeholders and things. We've done that, right? But
Yeah.
we're talking about such big numbers.
I'm talking about big numbers. I'm not
that-
talking about
that system
placeholders
wouldn't
and
work, yeah.
all the other precincts where it's,
Yeah.
you get one every 2 hours or something. I'm talking about places like that, and Denise just said they do it at Riderwood. Maybe we can find out how they do it there. Prince
Yeah.
George's County, Riderwood,
No, Montgomery County.
Montgomery County,
Riderwood.
Riderwood.
But I think Riderwood, the facility arranges it.
Arranges that. Well, I just put it out there as something that I think we need to think about and to facilitate those places, and we might get more voters.
Okay.
I'm not talking about doing a lot of big deal stuff, but
Anything else on Leisure World, David?
They had one voter in 1371, which is the one at the chapel, who left, came back, and said that they had read in the Washington Post, although I think they may have been mistaken, that they could get a paper record of how they voted on the voting machine.
oh, they were talking about the new ones.
I guess, but anyway, they demanded their paper record, and they were told, sorry, we don't have a
Good
paper
luck.
record.
Yeah.
We don't, as we all know. So, and they had some voters who just didn't show up at all as being registered in the state of Maryland. You know, they didn't, you know, there was no explanation or whatever, but there were some people who showed up, swore they were registered, didn't show up on the list at all.
Yeah,
But they gave them provisional
They
ballot.
gave. I'm a little concerned with the provisional numbers. There were some precincts that were having
A lot.
a lot. It was addresses where one spouse's was changed, the other's wasn't.
Yeah, I had
In
that
a change of
issue.
address.
Yeah, a flower here.
I can only hope it didn't take place at MVA.
Yeah, I was going to say, I hope that when we consider these provisionals, that we'll find out if people had an MBA transaction as part of this.
I'm sure you've told us this, Margaret, but when, on their registration, on the computer, does it say where they came from? Does it say they're cut? Okay, so we'll know.
Okay. Denise, you probably have some issues?
Nothing that was not resolved. We had, I reported, we had a machine that didn't load this morning. Didn't load
The poll book? Or
no,
Yeah.
the
The
voting
voting
machine
machine.
didn't load. They sent someone out for that. I had issue where the poll books weren't syncing, and they ended up. We got it corrected, and then the Romer came out and brought another hub. So it was a hub issue with that. Other than that, I did have 2 polling places that didn't know there were 2 parts to the provisional ballot. So they were giving out the top, the candidate part, and not the questions. But I caught that. But they did do 3. One polling place did 3, had already only gotten just one part of it.
So
And
those
the other ones.
won't be able to be counted? Does that avoid?
No, they can
does
vote.
that lose the signature,
No,
or-
they just, this is just, it'll count no vote for
The issue.
the issue.
Oh, I see what you mean, the issue questions.
The issue
Yeah.
questions. The other one, we did have one person who said they were a resident and not a citizen who was trying to vote, said they
How do
couldn't
they
vote.
know? How do they know that person is a resident?
He said he was a resident.
Well, he said himself. If he wouldn't say himself,
He
could
said he
vote.
was a resident, and he was supposed to be able to vote, and
Was he in
Was he
the
registered?
system? Was he in the system?
no.
Okay, 'cause in my case, wait, I forgot, I need to get that to Kevin. In my case, he is in the system, and he doesn't want to be in the system because he's a U.S. resident, and he doesn't know how he got in the system. And then talking to his daughter, he went to MBA to get an ID
Oh, no.
at MBA, and that's the only connection I can make. But the daughter's very worried about it. She's actually a judge.
He should send a letter requesting that he be canceled right away. Yeah, or call me and we can cancel them.
Okay, I have their information.
Well, I can do it then. We can cancel them today.
Yeah, because she's very concerned
She
because,
should be.
and she said that's the only connection, is the only thing he's done is gotten an ID from MBA.
Okay.
And she said the funny thing is he got the ballot and everything in the mail, and she didn't. She didn't get it, and she doesn't. He gets all the junk mail, everything in his name, and she's like, I'm very worried because when I apply for citizenship, you know, this could it could look like he's trying to vote.
You know,
Well, he's not a
it
citizen.
may be in his interest to write that letter you're talking about rather than you're just canceling it, so that he can have on the record that he making his
Yeah,
effort
but I just
to
want to
do
give
it.
you the information anyway. And she was actually a judge at the early voting at Boer Park.
Okay.
So I'll give you all the information and her phone number and email.
Okay.
It was basically just, some were new judges and very nervous, and the others were, they were fine, but it seemed as if this morning there was a big rush and they did not have the flow organizing of the polling station didn't work. And in one instance, I made a suggestion that they should move some people around because the person that was supposed to be doing provisionals was also supposed to be taking people back and forth to the polling, to the ballots, and they weren't doing that. They were just kind of standing around. And the Hispanic-speaking judge was entering at the poll book, and I said it would be better if she was freer to do the provisionals so she could roam, and when someone came in and needed a Spanish speaker, they wouldn't have to wait for her to get up from the poll book and checking somebody in to address it. So it was more of a management issue with the judges. So basically, nothing that we couldn't resolve.
Yeah, David.
I had one more issue if Denise is done. There was and Kevin is familiar with this one, but I guess he has to go and come back. There was a report of someone who said that their sample ballot told them to go to Arcola Towers, although they lived in the precinct for Arcola Elementary School. Actually both of them are one of my precincts. I haven't actually been to Arcola Towers yet today. I did stop by Arcola Elementary School. They had heard nothing about that. There was no one there who actually had their sample ballot for me to look at to see if that was a situation. They did have a problem that they apparently in several elections had not found out where to plug in their phone. That was the second most popular thing I would have done in my 4-year term. I found a place to plug in their phone. But,
You found it.
I found it. But anyway, obviously we want to make sure that people aren't being sent to the wrong precinct.
Wheaton Elementary School, Wheaton Recreation Center used to be the polling place for that location. They got moved to Arcola Elementary School. There was, in the process of redistricting, some issues with regards to the Windmiller Street that we've had to look at. The one person that we did receive a complaint about, Margie Campbell, and has made arrangements for this woman to either vote at a location close to her house, but she has been also advised that she could go to Arcola Elementary. Is that what it was?
Yeah, she was told, I clarified where she was supposed to vote, and told her that as long as she was in line at 8 p.m. tonight, she would be able to vote. She initially was saying that she wasn't going to be able to get back there and vote, and so after talking with Margaret, I looked up what polling places were closest to her office address and told her where she could go and vote a provisional ballot, with the understanding that it would just be the county and statewide races that would be counted if she did that, and told her that if she chose to do that, to call me and I would call the chief judge so that she didn't have any problem with that. And I also told her that she could come here to our office and vote an absentee ballot because she's in the North Rockville area.
So how is it that she ended up at Arcola Towers?
Her sample ballot indicated that, and she's going to take a picture of her sample ballot and send it to me so that I can look into it and then get back to her.
Already. There's a backstory here, and I've subsequently talked to the vendor and confirmed that she's absolutely right. The sample ballot did give that polling place, which is different than what's in the poll book at this moment. I don't, the substance of the issue is that this is a particular street, it's a neighborhood, little townhouse, street right off of Arcola.
What's the street?
Windmill Terrace, is it?
Sounds like.
I'll confirm the exact
Okay.
view, but I think
Okay.
it's Windmill Terrace, it's something like that. And when you look at our official precinct boundary lines, you can very clearly see that this street is on the eastern side. Our precinct lines reference the plats. They reference the actual property records of where these lines are to be drawn. The census lines, when you look at the U.S. Census Bureau's maps, the census blocks don't draw in the same place as the property lines do. So the definitions of the census tracts and the way that the various GIS software with the State Department of Planning, the county GIS department, there is a substantive disagreement between the various computer systems over how to reference this street, which we have manually corrected now at least twice, I think 3 times with this street. But we clearly have had an issue that neither I nor the IT manager nor Margaret was clear on, that there was a further disconnect in this voter situation. We're still checking the extent of it. At most, it's that little street where we had the known issue. I don't know whether it's just her, whether it's the whole street exactly. I'm assuming it's the whole street, but I don't know that yet. It's a small number of voters.
No, it's not the whole street.
It's not the whole street?
No,
Okay.
because we manually went in and corrected it.
Yeah.
And what we discovered was that we fixed it after the GIS interface, and she came in and updated her registration on 9/25, and she went back to the old one.
May I interject something kind of unrelated, but would it be possible for a board member to excuse him herself or herself and go to Friendship Heights Village? Because we're getting a complaint that they have long lines there and I can't get anyone on the phone at that particular location.
I go, because I'm
And that's
gonna go
one
that
of the
way.
locations that I
area?
think it's got one chief judge, there's only one judge there. But
Oh, okay, is that the
Karen
one?
Brito,
I
who's
was
there, is saying there are long
I will
lines
go.
Okay.
Also,
and that they don't have enough
Clara
functioning.
Barton and
Functioning machines.
Clara Barton.
What can we do?
I don't, we need to get someone out there, but I tried to reach the chief judge and I tried to call into the
I go
polling
there.
place and neither one, they're not picking the
It was
phone
a
up
long
anymore.
line at Westland Middle School and Clara Barton, like 15, 20 people waiting.
Okay,
And Westland, they didn't have enough people, that's why I was helping them. Clara Barton, they're very good. They
Okay,
move people
good.
around, no problem. But it was amazingly, people were waiting to go vote. So I will go to Friendship Heights, I'm going
Okay.
that way.
Okay.
I will go.
What's the
Can-
precinct number at Friendship Heights?
it's
726.
0726.
726.
Can we, before we go on to something else, can we finish with that neighborhood off of Arcola? Because I want to understand.
Yes, yes.
When we say that she updated her registration, does that mean that she changed her party affiliation? That she?
So there's a manual override that is possible in the system, which we have had to do with voters on the street.
Right, understood.
Because when we do our GIS interface processes.
Right,
to
no,
impact the streets, what happens.
I got that. I want to understand
So-
what the update was.
So, and this is what, I don't know that we've fully researched it since this has just been going on in the last, few hours, but the, apparently this piece of it was that she had updated her registration. And when she did that, it is sensible to me then that what would have happened would be that it would it would basically check that she was assigned to the right place, and that the system would correct a manual override, basically, and
Well,
default back to what
well,
the street
why?
file says that street belongs in.
I'm actually feeling.
I don't understand why the system, you did a manual override for a reason.
Right.
You didn't do a manual override just because you felt like
But
it.
it's not our database, it's the state's database. So we're going into voters and we're physically changing a field in their record, but the logic of the system assigns people based on referencing a file that is what the state's definition is. So that's what we gotta go back
And when you
see.
say she updated her registration, what does that mean?
I don't know, was it a motor, I don't know if it was a motor vehicle administration transaction, or if it was an over the counter, or, I don't know exactly.
I mean, did she change something?
I
I don't know.
thought Margaret was
Print your banks.
referring to voter registration here, not the person.
What do you mean?
I didn't think she was talking about the individual person doing the change. I thought it was an in-house.
I thought she said that she updated her voter registration, what I heard.
Okay. What I can add to the party is that the registration was updated. I have not had the time to go in and look at her specific case yet
Okay.
to
so-
find out the
As to
all
why.
the details.
Right, okay,
But it was updated, and that caused it to,
okay.
the manual override then went away
Right.
when it was updated.
Is there a way to flag the people on the street so that if there's further transactions that we automatically have a person look at them and make sure that they're in the right place?
We'll check
Plus
into
I need it.
that.
I know
I
where you'll
actually
be.
personally hand-delivered all of their sample ballots for
Sounds
the
good, thanks.
primary because we had to do this manual override. So I think we thought that the problem had been solved more extensively than I guess it had been with the change taking effect. But
Right.
yeah, we definitely have a problem here that we need to not have.
Play the
recur.
game.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Since you mentioned that, I did forget, there was an issue at White Oak. The precinct that we split off and changed, people were coming to White Oak. Is it Jonesboro? There's a precinct that that was presenting a problem for White Oak. They said we were supposed to, they thought we were gonna put signs at the old polling place saying where the new polling place was, but it didn't happen. So they were coming to White Oak. It was the precinct, remember it was across when we changed the boundaries, it was across the,
Cross 29.
across 29, yeah, so that's the precinct.
Do you happen to remember the name of what the old one was?
No,
Okay. We can go look that up.
Okay.
Yeah.
But White Oak is the new location
For some of them.
for some of them.
They split it.
Right.
Right.
They split it, so it's getting the right precinct, the polling place is a problem for that one.
You're on, Mary Ann.
Okay, any other issues?
I had a good one.
Oh.
Nancy Benner from Chevy Chase United Methodist Church was a chief judge and said she's an editor and has been an editor for years, and she would love to edit the judge's book for more clarity,
The manual?
the manual. And she would love it if you called and let her do that.
Isn't that a state
We
document?
would love it if the state would take her advice into consideration.
Thank you, ladies. I appreciate your comments. I hope you appreciated mine.
Yes.
There you go. I'm
Oh,
done.
what did I do?
We could probably get back to a voter like that and give them the contact information
She
for
seemed
people at the
very,
state.
she seemed real. I mean, you know, people
Yeah.
offer things that don't seem real, but she seemed very
Yeah.
real. And she, right off the top of her head, made 2 or 3 comments to me that sounded like it would have made more clarity.
Friendship Heights, the line is down to 0.
Poor,
Is it
Now,
really?
he'll find that when she gets there.
down to
And
0.
I just got done talking to the roamer.
When
She's
did-
been there for 20 minutes. She said it was just bad management. She's got the line down to
Oh.
Here,
0.
let me tell
So
you.
it was a management issue, okay.
And my other comment is Jane Lawton, and if you're going to use it again, the judges asked for street parking passes so that they didn't have to park in the parking lot. There's plenty of street parking. as long as the Chevy Chase Village Police don't.
Well, I think we tried it.
Yeah, that was a no-go.
And they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't budge.
But the police car was there and the people were parked on the street and the cop wasn't doing anything. And so, but the judge said, we're all parked out there, but we'd really like to have passes so that we didn't, we don't have a problem. And the little policeman was sitting in his car out front, looking kind of cute.
I said no.
Yeah, I mean,
We can certainly
Okay.
try it again.
Just one of my notes.
and as I understand it, on the weekend, you can park there, correct? There's some time when you can.
Yes.
Because
Well, they wanted it, the
But-
judges.
yeah, no,
'Cause that's the place where we need parking, because everybody.
we do, because
Yeah.
everybody takes
Yeah.
the spots in the lot.
And one voter asked what the two numbers on the back of the voting machine were, and what were they for? And the judge asked me, and I didn't have a clue.
Numbers.
What two numbers?
Number
Could it be the precinct?
two.
I mean,
There was evidently two sets of numbers.
each machine is numbered.
Yeah.
The judge and this man came in and was insistent before he voted that he know what those numbers represented.
The number of the machine.
Well, there's the precinct number 0417.
Yeah. And then
There's
there's
the
the,
exactly.
number of units 0 through 12, 17.
Right.
I don't know. I
Well,
mean,
he
I
made
would-
up something and it was neither of those two things. I told the man was fine.
I would think any of the judges would know what those numbers meant, if they're talking about the ones we.
No, I don't know what he's
This is
talking
these are
about.
my notes. Do
They
you
made
want
up an
them?
answer and he
Or
was
do you
happy
want to
with
take
that.
them? If you can't read them, call.
Okay.
It's nothing.
Any other issues before we hit the streets again?
Did you have any problems at Seven Locks when you were there?
Yeah, well, I mean, I had lines at 7 Locks.
A former board member is reporting that when her husband went to vote, Robert Berliner's
Roger.
Roger
Berliner?
name did not come up on the machine.
What do you mean a former board member? Here, an election board member.
Mary
And
Crowley.
they're positive that's the same district?
It might not be actually.
I'll call Seven Locks.
Let me
10:03.
look.
What
Let me
district
go.
is- Yeah.
10:03, Seven Locks.
7 Locks had a steady line of people, and I thought could use more help. I think the chief judge called here and asked, and there was told there was absolutely no more people to send around.
We can send a roamer that way.
Because who knows what they'll get tonight.
I thought it was
But
dangerous.
I would guess they probably had what I call a slippage issue,
Slid down.
because so many of my precincts did, but it was never anything that was felt. As I say, they were always resolved on the spot. Either the person tried again
And he said he went back and was able to do it.
well, there's a lot of those.
Oh, yeah, lots and lots of them. I had them too.
There are a lot,
I
and
had-
my own interpretation is we know this equipment is so doggone old, and we've been
And we're never
keeping
gonna
it
use it
alive
again.
for a
Never
long
use it.
time. But
I told the judges each time we heard about it, I told the judges about fingernails, if you touch the line, if your finger rolls up, men with fatter fingers, their finger rolls up.
Yeah.
And it defaults to the one above or below, whichever line. You don't have to go to that name, just to the line, and it defaults. And just like when you open your iPad, sometimes you have to hit it a couple of times before the app comes up that you want. Well, it's exactly the same system. And anyway, I explained, when you explained it to the judges, oh, okay, we'll tell them.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what.
I'll call this to see. They said they reported it.
And it's not, I mean, nobody is reporting this happening on a particular name or not. You know what I mean? It's like when it happens,
It
it's,
happens.
yeah, all different instances. So it does make you think that it is a human kind of issue.
And I think the important thing, but the important thing that I've been focusing on with the media when they ask me about it is that it's not affecting how the voter votes. I mean, they are able to correct the situation.
Yes.
Voters are able to vote the way they want to vote.
Oh, that's,
So,
absolutely, and that's
it's
important.
a little
Yeah,
minor,
absolutely.
minor
Yes,
thing.
I
that's
don't think
not
we've
affecting
heard
the
from
ballot.
anybody saying, I cast my vote and it was all wrong. You know, it wasn't who I wanted to vote
Right.
for. They're always caught before that time. And people are, I find in a lot of the polling places, the judges are preempting discussions by telling people to be sure and review the summary page.
It is a little unnerving when it happens to you, though. I mean, I think it's good that we're telling people how to fix it,
Right.
but, you know, I can still understand that people get a little, yeah, antsy, yeah, exactly.
My understanding with the new machines that are coming up, you can vote, you put the ballot in, you can vote this way still.
I don't know as though we have any
On a
real
machine?
information on that.
It's gonna be put in a machine, you told me. Isn't
No,
that
but
right?
that's at the end.
It's a
No, that's a scanner, but it's gonna be put, you can vote by pencil or by machine, is that right, Allison?
I don't know that we've received any kind of formal information about what exactly it is
Oh,
that the
okay.
state is gonna be procuring. I mean, I know it was on the agenda and that there was, discussion, and my perception was a selection made by the State Board of Elections of a new voting system, but that it does need to go to the Board of Public Works still. I do know that all of the systems obviously are paper, but 3 of the 4 voting systems that were demonstrated to us had some form of a touchscreen interface that the voter could use to mark their ballot.
Oh,
So, yes.
really?
Yeah, I thought so.
Oh, wow.
And so you
So
could
they
do it
use
by
it-
pencil or by touch screen. You entered your ballot in,
Uh-huh.
or whatever.
Sort of like the new Surface device.
Kevin, are you gonna need me? I was gonna start going towards Rockville after this, but do you want me to stay up county? You were,
It'd be helpful to have someone up county. We don't seem to have any board members that are,
Oh, up county.
because you and Nancy usually cover
Yeah.
up county, so.
do you guys wanna give me Nancy's route? So I can maybe do those, or how's that?
Do you have it written down somewhere? Because, I mean, her bag's in her kitchen, so.
I can take a copy of the map.
Wooten High
Okay.
School was one of them.
Which
Yeah, Wooten
Wooten?
High School was one.
Yeah.
If you
Oh,
want-
that's
Lisa's-
who I know one.
Yeah.
Well, if
You
you,
wanna
I'll
do-
take the ones closer to me. I mean, you know, up county that's closer down.
Right, that was the one that I think the
Oh, is that the only one?
No,
Lisa-
Rockwell and Wooten
Lisa's gonna go she's got a list of what routes were.
for Nancy.
Well, if you want to go to those and then start coming back up county, that would be, it's better to have you all spread out a little bit, because
In case you
obviously,
need
if
to
there's
get to
something-
people.
if something happens in Damascus and everyone is down
And
county.
Well, I'm next scheduled over in Kensington.
Okay.
Haven't been there yet. That
So I'll
route.
look at Nancy's route.
Okay, good.
Do we know what time to expect early voting returns?
8 o'clock.
To be posted, 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock will be the
8 o'clock.
early, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you coming back here tonight?
Oh, have to. Yeah. And the heat's coming back. Anybody, are you gonna come back?
Yeah, I'm planning on it too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably not
Not for the.
not right away. but,
Right.
yeah.
Will Mike Subin be here tonight, do we know?
I don't know.
I don't
I'll
know.
send you a text.
Okay.
I think he's
I mean,
downstairs right
you
now.
know, I'm always here till the end, or, at least, I think I know, I left at 1 AM in the primary. So I could still drive.
I left before you, so I can't, you know.
But I, you know, I try to stay until we know
Yeah,
everything's
yeah.
okay.
I just, because I have a sense that we're getting ready to
Yeah.
adjourn the meeting. Before we do that, Jackie, in light of the information that we got at the beginning of the meeting, I just want to confirm that you are still available for the canvas period, for the entire canvas period.
Yeah, but Leila, what information? Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I just wanted to confirm that. Okay.
Yeah, actually, we need to make sure we have a Republican here for everything, so. that's gonna require some
And when
coordination.
when Nahid is back tonight, I'll clarify
I'm
that with
pretty
her as
sure
well.
Nahid had indicated she was here for everything.
Yeah,
right?
as did Jackie, and I
Right.
just wanted to
Okay,
double
okay,
check that, so
okay.
that we knew what
But when
we
you
had
did,
to work with.
you weren't aware that you had to be.
It sounded good at the time.
Well,
Okay.
ballots
Okay.
23 for use that, 1003
Yeah.
is on we have the optical scan, it does reflect, both names. And, I've just asked, Janet to bring up the screen for ballot style 23, which is the precinct. But this is the first report that we've heard that
Maybe they didn't scroll.
there's always that
Yeah,
He said
possibility.
Irving Berliner and Georgia
For the
Berliner.
schedule,
Didn't he say Irving?
Irving.
is it just
Irving's
one of
Irving, that's what
each
he
party
said.
for the
That's right.
on-call signatories is what you need, or is it more than that?
Just one, we need the president and the secretary.
Well,
No,
not
no,
for
no,
the
no,
night,
no, You're
not
talking
for the
about
night,
partials.
I'm talking about like each
Oh.
night where you know, because
the nightly signing of the tape,
One
you
of
just
those.
need one of each.
The
one of
signing
both, right?
is
So no,
one
so-
of each,
right,
yeah,
So
I-
in other words, we should work out. We don't all have to be here between 7 and 9, but we can work out amongst us to make sure that there's
Who's gonna
one,
take
that there's
one
one
night.
on each side,
Yeah.
or you know, whatever.
Right.
I think after the first day or so, we get a
We
feel
don't
of how much
really.
they-
Yeah, exactly,
We only
exactly.
did that partial in the primary because of the close contest, right? And that so is that a given that we'll be doing it each night, or because usually you just sign off after you've completed absentee 1, provisional absentee 2.
I think that I would recommend that the board release whatever partials at the end of the night.
Each
Yep,
night.
Each night so absentee 1, probably Thursday night, there's no way you're gonna get it all done with all the duplication, so whatever we do
Well,
tabulate.
I'm here the late of Thursday.
So we could
The schedule
do
looks a
that.
little odd to me. Did something
then
happen to it? Because
We
I'm,
just keep going through Friday and then Saturday if we have to. I don't think that you're gonna go past Friday, or past Saturday.
And Saturday 7 to 9.
Saturday.
No, Saturday that's just for signing. We're scheduled to meet all day on Saturday, although I'm not able to be here that particular day.
But is it till 9 or is it till 7? Sorry, I don't
So do you have the same map? I didn't know if you guys were
It's
gonna.
usually till 9,
Split
but
it
then
and
he's
look
gotta
at each
allow
other's
2
Oh,
hours for them to
okay.
finish the
Thank you.
scanning, so someone has to come back and sign it.
Thank you.
what's
We
ringing?
only have about 8,000 to do,
I can't be
so
here.
we should be
At
able
all.
to plow through those.
No.
Duplicating is what's gonna slow
That's
us
the-
down.
I can't be here Saturday night.
Right, I've got you down as a no.
Right. So the question is, who can be? Because I'm a no on Saturday also.
I think I'll.
Well, I'm here Saturday
My
morning.
flight will get me back in time.
So
to
yes,
come
the
in.
PM needs to be an AM, and I've just made that correction.
Okay.
Well, yeah, we could probably just work it out amongst us to figure out who's what.
My
doesn't
flight
have to
will
be
get me
recorded,
back in
does it?
time to come in.
Turn it off
On that
Late Saturday?
Yeah.
Somebody adjourned?
Okay.
Mary Ann,
Because my,
can't we turn off the recorder now? Nobody cares about this.
Well, we can adjourn the meeting, I suppose, but. Can
And
we?
then talk
Yeah.
about it.
sure. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Yeah, I know.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.